If you're based in Portugal and planning to work abroad, even for a short time, there's one piece of paper that can save you from a massive financial headache. It's called the A1 Certificate. Whether you're a company sending an employee or a freelancer heading out on your own, you're going to want to pay close attention. We're about to break down exactly what this thing is and how you get it right.
Okay, let's just dive right into the main problem, the thing that gives everyone a headache: paying Social Security twice. I mean, can you imagine? You're paying your contributions in Portugal, and then you also have to pay them in the country you're temporarily working in. It's a huge, expensive mess, but guess what? It's completely avoidable.
So here's how it works. By default, the general rule is pretty simple. You pay Social Security wherever you're physically doing the work, but for a short-term assignment, that can get really complicated really fast. But, and this is the important part, there's a massive exception. It's called posting, and it's like a shield that keeps you covered by the Portuguese system, no matter where you are. So, how do you activate this shield? Well, the key is the A1 certificate. Honestly, the best way to think about it is as your Social Security passport. It's the official document you carry that proves to the authorities in your host country, hey, don't worry, I'm already covered back home in Portugal.
Let's get official for a second. This A1 portable document is your absolute proof. So when a labor inspector in Germany or France shows up and asks if you're paying into their system, you just show them this piece of paper. It's the document that says loud and clear, you only need to pay contributions in Portugal. End of story.
And it's really important to know where this comes from. This isn't just some form your company prints out. No way. The A1 is issued directly by Portugal's Social Security Institute, the ISS. That's what gives it its power. It's government-backed official proof that's recognized across Europe.
So, who exactly does this apply to? Well, it covers a pretty wide net. It's for your regular employees that a company sends abroad. It's for self-employed folks, freelancers taking on a project in another country. And it even covers company directors who find themselves working across multiple member states. Okay, so here's a critical point. This is not a one-size-fits-all deal, not at all. The rules change completely depending on where you're going. For Social Security purposes, the world is basically split into 3 different zones, and you have to know which zone you're heading to before you do anything else. And this table lays it out perfectly. Look, if you're going to the EU, the European Economic Area, Switzerland, or the UK, you'll use that A1 certificate we've been talking about, and it's good for up to 24 months. But then there are countries that have special deals with Portugal, like Brazil. For Brazil, the period can be way longer, up to 60 months, but you'll need a totally different, country-specific form. And then for everyone else, where there's no agreement, the whole process gets a lot more complex.
All right, let's get down to brass tacks. We need a pre-departure checklist. Getting these things wrong can seriously derail your entire trip, so you need to treat these as your absolute, non-negotiable action items.
Before anyone even thinks about boarding a plane, 4 things have to be done. Period. First, you have to tell the Portuguese Labor Authority, the ACT. Second, you've got to make sure your work accident insurance actually covers you where you're going. Third, you apply for the A1 certificate itself. And finally, you get all your paperwork, all your supporting documents, ready to go.
And speaking of that first step, timing is everything. Notifying the Labor Authority, the ACT, has a hard deadline. You can't just do it the day before you fly out. It has to be submitted online at least 5 days before the work assignment starts. 5 days. Now, for the insurance part, please do not just assume your regular policy has you covered. You need to get explicit proof in writing from your insurer that your work accident coverage is valid for that specific country and for the entire time you'll be there. If you don't have this, your A1 application could get flat out rejected.
Having all your documents ready from the start is going to make this whole process so much faster. You'll need the contract, of course, and that proof of insurance we just talked about. Depending on your industry, you might need a special company license. If the worker isn't an EU national, have their residency permit handy. And for your freelancers out there, the key is proving you're active in Portugal, so have some recent invoices ready to show.
So, you followed the checklist, you got your documents together, you're all good, right? Well, not so fast. We've got to talk about the pitfalls. These are the areas where people get tripped up all the time, and believe me, the consequences can be pretty serious. Understanding the difference between posting, teleworking, and the whole separate universe of tax is absolutely vital.
Okay, this is probably the biggest point of confusion out there. Posting versus teleworking. They are not the same thing. Posting is when you are sent on a temporary assignment. Teleworking is just working from another country. And the rule is crystal clear. Teleworking is not posting.
That means if you're just teleworking from another country, you're usually subject to the social security laws of that country, not Portugal.
Okay, let's switch gears completely now. We've talked a lot about Social Security. Now let's talk about tax. And for this, you need to burn one number into your brain: 183.
This is the famous 183-day rule, and it is a game changer. If you spend more than 183 days, that's basically half the year, in another country, there's a very good chance you will be considered a tax resident there. And this has absolutely nothing to do with your Social Security status or your A1 certificate.
So if you remember just one thing from this entire explainer, please let it be this. The A1 certificate is your key for Social Security. That's it. It has zero, nothing, nada to do with your income tax. Where you pay income tax is a totally separate question, governed by different rules and things called double taxation treaties. Never, ever confuse the two. So, let's wrap this up. Getting your A1 certificate is absolutely the crucial first step. It solves that big Social Security puzzle and keeps you anchored to the system in Portugal. But please remember, it's just that, the first step. You still have to play by the host country's rules on things like minimum wage and working hours. And most importantly, you have to figure out your tax situation. The A1 gets you in the door for sure, but it's up to you to figure out how to navigate the rest of the room.